doesn't know the Bhagavad Gita? You? Yeah? Never heard about the Bhagavad Gita before? This book? Little bit. Who is reading Bhagavad Gita regularly here? Anyone? No? Okay. So Bhagavad Gita is a book which actually helps us to actually it is described that Bhagavad Gita helps us to learn how to live, how to love, but also how to live the world. So basically the first chapter is about how to live, so how to actually... Everyone understand English? Yes? Okay. So the first few chapters is about how can we actually act in this world, right? How can we do activities? What can we do here? What are we doing here? And how can we offer that to the Supreme, to Krishna? And in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, it described how can we love. So, meaning how can we develop love for Krishna? How can we develop love of God in general? And so how to also, because once we develop love for God or for Krishna, then we also develop love for each living entity around us, meaning people, our family, the trees, the nature. So everything actually, we develop love, because it's like when we water the roots of a tree, then all the leaves of the tree becomes very beautiful. In the same way, this fruit of the tree represents the Supreme Whole, the Supreme Krishna. So here in this temple we are worshipping Gauranitai, Sri Govinda Madhavan, Sri Krishna Balaram, and we're trying to center our life towards Krishna, towards the deity. So every day we wake up in the morning very early at 4 o'clock, and we're trying to give actually a few hours before starting our day to spirituality. So we're giving these few hours to connect before we act in the world. So in that way, that whatever happens in our day, it doesn't affect us. So then we pray, we sing songs, we offer our day before we start our day. And then during the day, we are doing different kind of activities here. So, farm activities, cooking, cleaning, serving. It can also be anything actually, even things related to finance, computer. And so these activities actually help us to actually develop our love when it's done with devotion, when we are remembering Krishna, when we are doing these activities. And then so we try to live in that way, simple life. Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of this Krishna consciousness movement, was saying that simple living, high thinking. In that way we are trying to actually develop this life here, to develop a life where we don't have to worry so much about material things. So in that way, we have more space in our minds to focus on spirituality. So you are coming from Paris, for example. You know that Paris is a busy, busy life. I just went there for 2 weeks. I just came back, and during that 2 weeks, actually, we do sometimes, like 2 times in a year. Some of us go in Paris and we do like we call book distribution. So we try to reach to people on the streets and to give them these books. So to like just try to see like how can we touch people's hearts and to give them something spiritual, because actually the highest rate of depression are in the big cities, because people are so focused into material life that they get absorbed in that, and when we get absorbed in that, depression can come because we forget who we are, right? So that creates more and more anxiety. And so in that way we go to these big cities to try to remind the people why are we here actually, and trying to make them introspect. That's why I think also you come here, you come here to try to connect to something higher than something superficial, right? So today then we're gonna read a verse from this Bhagavad Gita, and we're gonna read from the chapter 2. There's different chapters, and actually each chapter and each verse of this book, it's like a poetry. It's very beautiful. And in each verse, you can go very, very deep, and you can spend even hours, like Prabhupada on the one verse, he will spend hours and hours and speak on that verse. It's like an ocean. And even if you read the Bhagavad Gita multiple times, there's always something new you learn, because it's a spiritual book. And what happens with spiritual book is there is no end. Because spiritually, there's no end in spirituality. There is no beginning and no end, like the soul. The soul is also eternal. We are a soul. And we also have no beginning and we have no end. And in that way, when we are reaching to spirituality, there is no beginning and no end. So, we're going to read from this quite famous verse. So, it's a chapter 2 called Contents of the Gita Summarized. So, in that chapter, it is summarizing actually what's happening in the Bhagavad Gita. And just for those who doesn't know, like Bhagavad Gita doesn't remember, so it's Krishna and Arjuna having a conversation, and Arjuna is having an external crisis, and he's wondering, he's like in a war, and he doesn't want to fight, because his family members are on the other side, and he has got the external crisis, like who I am, what I am doing here, what's the goal of life, what's the purpose, and how long I'm going to live here. And so these 5 topics are actually spoken in the Bhagavad Gita. And Arjuna is a metaphor also, because he's really existed, but it also describes us. Because we all go through life crisis. Sometimes we can have, we do something and then we like wondering, what am I doing here? What's the point actually? This is a very, very beautiful book, which I advise you to read and read again. Sometimes, when I was living in London for 2 years, and what happened is, like, I was living in a temple there in the middle of the city, maybe you know, Solo Street Temple, and I used to meet a lot of Indian people, and they all tell me, like, oh, we know the Bhagavad Gita, and because it's something from childhood. But actually, most of them, they don't really live it in their life. They don't really practice in Krishna consciousness, but more like ritualistic activity, like come to the temple once a month and ask something, and then goes. But actually, this beautiful gift is like meant to be lived, to be breathed in day-to-day life. So the verse is Yogeshvarya Prashaktanam Daya Parirta Shetasham Vyapashayatmika Buddhi Samadhuna Vidhiyate. And the meaning of this verse is, in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such a thing, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. I repeat again. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So this is the main verse, and then we have the purport, which is an explanation of the verse. And the explanation is, Samadhi means fixed mind. The Vedic dictionary, the Nirukti, says, Samyagadhiyatesmin atmatadvayataman. When the mind is fixed for understanding the self, it is said to be in Samadhi. Samadhi is never possible for persons interested in material sense enjoyments and bewildered by such temporary things. They are more or less condemned by the process of material energy. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, in this verse, it's nice because we see like it describes Samadhi. And usually when we talk about Samadhi, we think it's something like liberation, right? It's liberation from everything, and we attain like a stage of peace and disconnected actually. But actually what we learn in Krishna consciousness is samadhi means actually fixed mind. Fixed mind means that we are detaching our mind, so that it's saying this verse, from sense enjoyment and material opulence. And we fixing our mind on Krishna, which means we are offering everything to Krishna, whether that we have or anything. Because the problem that we have in the world is like, so many people will practice like yoga or meditation, but it will be just a practice to feel peace, to feel liberated and peaceful. But actually it doesn't really solve the roots of the problem of life, which is who I am, what I'm doing here, what's after death. So it's just a temporary benefit. Like, you know, you do meditation or you drink some chamomile infusion and you feel good for like 10 minutes and then it goes. But it doesn't actually solve the roots of the problem, because the roots of the problem is that to understand that actually who are we? That's the root. What is our relationship with God? Where are we going after death? So that is what we have to understand. Because if we don't understand that, then we just take birth again in the material world, in the cycle of samsara, birth, death, old age, and disease, and then we're just gonna come back again and again without really solving the problem. So Krishna consciousness actually, it helps us to do that really. This is what about Krishna consciousness. And in nowadays we see a lot of this mindfulness, right? So it becomes very much trend. It's like teaching you to become present. But actually, in Krishna consciousness, this is actually, it's really give you the meaning really of how to be present. Because what does it mean to be present actually? We need to ask this of ourselves, what's the meaning to be present? The meaning of being present means I know the goal of what I'm doing right now. So I'm doing something, but I know what is the goal of what I'm doing. If I'm just present and I don't know why I'm doing something, then there is no means actually. So that's why it's called Krishna consciousness. We become present by becoming conscious of Krishna. And then automatically we become present in everything that what we do in our life. This actually, the Hatha Yoga or meditation, it was meant for another yoga, which is not our yoga. It's Satya Yoga, where people could meditate for hours. But now we're in Kali Yoga, and that's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and he gave us the solution. He said, you have to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he's also saying that there is no other way, which means that you can search for, you can go and do the tour of the planets, go to visit any other culture, religions, try to find out some other solution. But actually, the last incarnation of Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explains that there is actually no other way to attain this ultimate satisfaction and happiness, which only exists when we are, as a soul, connected to the Supreme Soul. Does anyone knows what's the meaning of yoga?
Yes.
Yes?
Connecting self to the divine.
Yes, connecting self to the divine. So that's the very thing is like, many people now practice yoga, Hatha Yoga, this kind of yoga, but they actually doesn't even know what's the meaning of yoga. So this yoga is actually meant to ultimately connect us to the Supreme Krishna, and it's not so easy. We have at the beginning we chant Hare Krishna, but ultimately we have to dedicate every moment of our life to Krishna. And this is possible even if we live outside, even if we live in a busy city. It doesn't matter where we are actually, because what is important is the consciousness which we are in. If even if we live in a big city, we can at an age we can, we can organize our life in such a way that we have a spiritual life in the morning, wake up early, and even like, you know, it's so nice to also do it with children, family, and then, okay, go to work because we have to provide for the family. And in Bhagavad Gita, it's explained also how to do that. It's explained about grihastas, that people who are living there can also, they get purified by giving some charity from their money that they're earning to a temple, for example, and to spiritual causes. And in that way, they can also engage in some service in the temple which is close to them, and find some association with devotees who are practicing. So if we do that, then we can advance in spiritual life. We need to find the association of people who are practicing devotional service, devotees around us, and try to have regular sangha with them, so that we can develop this Krishna consciousness. So in this verse, it is talking about being too attached to sense enjoyment, right? And material opulence. So actually, when we are attached to sense enjoyment, it's when we are not able to control our senses. So it is described in the Nectar of Instruction, which is another small book, which is very nice. It is said that a sober person who can tolerate the urges to speak, the mind's demand, the action of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly and genitals, is able to make disciples all over the world. Which means that actually, what is meaning to control our senses? First of all, we have to start with the mouth. What are we eating? Actually, the food is affecting consciousness. This has an effect on the consciousness. There is scientific proof of that. So, in the consciousness that you are preparing your food is going to have an effect on the way you think. It's just on your consciousness in general. So that's why here we are eating prasadam, for example. Prasadam means that it's sanctified food offered to Krishna. So they are preparing the kitchen in such a consciousness, with also cleanliness, and then it's offered to Krishna, and then this food goes inside our body, and this food actually, it helps to raise the consciousness. But for example, if you eat some food which is prepared by some people who has bad consciousness, or meat or things like that, the consciousness goes down. As a vegetarian myself, I noticed that before, when I was eating meat, I used to become angry very much often, and I was very much, I was less sensitive to people. And now that I changed my diet, and especially when I started to eat prasadam, I can see so much difference on my consciousness. So in that way, everything becomes a meditation in Krishna consciousness. Whatever you do, when you eat, when you work, you know, everything you can offer it to Krishna. Even when you sleep, you can pray, or let me sleep so that I am fit to serve you when I wake up. So everything like that can be offered to Krishna. Whatever we like to do in our life also can be offered. So, so then we start by eating, and then what's the second thing is speaking. So when we eat the wrong things, so we have less control on our tongue. But when we eat prasadam, then the tongues become more controlled. And we have still to control the urge to speak. What's the meaning to control the urge to speak? Means to not speak about, you know, mundane things, and, you know, just like gossiping and speaking bad about people. So try to speak about Krishna consciousness and spiritual things, and things who are able to raise our consciousness in life in general. Positive topics. Because we can see, you know, we can notice when we speak bad about someone, we can feel the energies becoming a little bit like negative, down. And when we speak about positive things, then we feel raised, right? And even we notice sometimes we spend some association with some people that are very negative, like, you know, always complaining, always staying negative in everything. Then we don't even want to be around them, right? But when we are around someone who is like more positive and talking nice about others then we want to be around that person, and then when we finish our interaction with that person, then we feel lift up. We feel like motivated and enthusiastic to do something. And sometimes when we spend time with someone negative and consciousness down, then we feel like kind of want to sleep, or because it takes our consciousness down. So, and actually, if we are not able to speak about spirituality or Krishna consciousness, then it's better to be silent. We can also just be silent. We don't have to speak all the time. And also the urges, so the mind's demand. So the mind, so everything is related, right? What we eat, what we speak, all of these are kind of helping to control all the senses. When we do one thing, it helps to control the other one. So when we control the tongue, what we eat, what we say, it also helps to control what we think. So, and the mind's demand, it's something very difficult. I mean, the mind is described to be like in the Bhagavad Gita, the crazy monkey. So, I mean, you're from India, for example, you've been around monkeys, I guess, there. And the monkeys are crazy. They just go from one thing to another. And it is like a reflection of the mind. The mind can go like from one thing to another in like 10 seconds. We can have so many thoughts. So controlling the mind means like, okay, the mind says something, but I don't have to act on it. I just leave it, like when the clouds goes in the sky, like we just see it and it goes away. And actually, like even one time I was listening to a Swami, and the question was asked to him, like, you don't have any urges, any desires? And he said, it's not that it's not there, it's there, but I just don't act on it. Which means like, it's still coming, but you just don't act, you stay sober. That's why it is described as sober person. Being a sober who doesn't act on the urges to speak, the mind's demand. And then the other one is the action of anger. So when you control all of this, then we are able also to control the action of anger, because we are controlling the urges to speak. And so then we can see that people who are actually practicing Krishna consciousness or spirituality also, or swamis, I think you met some swamis sometimes maybe, but they don't get angry. They just don't get angry. Like whatever happens in their life, they just stay very calm, quiet. And this is actually it's something which can measure the advancement of someone, is how much they get angry, because everyone cross challenging situation in life. It's meant for that actually. All this life is meant. It's a test actually for us. Krishna is giving us a certain family, certain place where we live. Nothing is by accident. Everything is Krishna's arrangement, Krishna's hand, so that actually we understand. So he's actually very kind, because he's like giving us things in our life. Even like problems are also opportunities, because he's giving us this to understand that you don't belong to this world. You actually don't belong to this world. And you cannot find happiness in this world either, because happiness doesn't exist outside of Krishna. Only when it's like, it's like if you try to make work a oven without plugging it in the electricity, it will never work. Even if you try, you push all the buttons. So in the same way, people in life, they try so many things, but because they are not plugged into into Krishna, then they will never find real happiness. And you can see, like even in the world, like in the society, like people make us think that we can find happiness by, being rich and being famous and this and that. And then we see like so many people make suicides. And they have everything that these things that the society says, right? Money, this and that, being famous, and then they make suicide, and then they're depressed. And there's even a famous song from the Beatles, I cannot find any satisfaction. And they were like, they was not understanding. Yeah, Rolling Stones, sorry, not the Beatles. And so, like that, we can try so many things, but we never try satisfaction. So we can go out again in the world, come back and try different things, and then we will again realize that, okay, outside of Krishna there is actually nothing that can give satisfaction. So in this verse, it's also speaking about, so material opulence. That's what also we think in the world, that if we are rich, then we become happy. But actually it is described that when we are bewildered by sense enjoyment and material opulence, then we can never take to the devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Which means that, if Krishna gives us material opulence, naturally we can engage it in Krishna consciousness, but we should not run after money. We should just do whatever we have to do, our duties, without spending so much time trying to become rich, trying to improve our financial situation, just enough to maintain our body and our family, or just enough to live simply, and in that way keep the rest of the time for Krishna consciousness. There is also other ways how we can improve our life, in the way that we can that help us to actually become more absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, also chapter 6, that there is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, or Arjuna, if one eats too much, or eats too little, sleep too much, or does not sleep enough, leads to mode of passion. This leads to much mode of passion and ignorance. So basically, it's not the best verse for a Sunday feast, I agree. But actually, in the Prabhupada time, so when Prabhupada created the Hare Krishna movement, they used to eat very simple during the week, just dal, rice, and chapati. That was lunch, and didn't have any dinner. And because it actually affects the consciousness when we eat too much. It's like, it makes you lazy, then you cannot move, and then it also affects your mind. And but on the Sunday feast, they used to eat as much as they wanted. So because we need like some recreation and things like that. But when we control the eating, which means we eat from the right things, healthy food, and then it helps us to also control our mind. And sleep too much or does not sleep enough, so it's also important. So everything we do in our life, basically it's meant to help us to develop a higher consciousness. Sleeping, so we have to think how much will I sleep, eat, regulate our day, because we actually first need to, this is actually helps to come to the mode of goodness. Because we have three modes, ignorance, passion, and goodness, and we first have to come to the mode of goodness, which means being regulated. And in that way, we can transcend the mode of goodness and to becoming Krishna conscious. We can be Krishna conscious in any modes, but in order to Krishna to appear in our heart, first of all, we have to train ourselves to come to the mode of goodness. And then we can ultimately transcend that mode. So, like that, we can observe. We can sometimes it's good actually to just write down our days, what are we doing, or our week, and then write down actually what am I doing in my day, where am I wasting time, because we all have some things we are doing that can actually a little bit waste of time that we could use for a better purpose. So in the morning maybe, or in the night, like instead of maybe, I don't know, watching movie or talking too much with some people, maybe we can take that time to, reading Bhagavad Gita, or reading some spiritual books which can help us, because actually it's very important before you sleep and when you wake up, this will define more or less your mind during that day. This will set up your mind. For example, if you wake up and straight away you will check your phone and your messages, it's gonna actually activate something in your brain that you're gonna actually check your phone all day. But when you start your day in the mode of goodness, which means you're giving some time to spiritual practice, you can chant japa, or you can read Bhagavad Gita, or do a morning program, then it helps you to stay in the mode of goodness, like that. So this helps to overcome passion and ignorance. Is there any question at this point? Okay. So so why do we actually chant Hare Krishna? Does anyone know? Why do we chant the Maha Mantra? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
To liberate us, to make us purifying us.
To channelize our energies and to have a focus towards divine, towards God. Because when we are chanting something, it's like we are getting slowly into the mode of where you are connecting to the God.
Yes, to connect us to God, to purify ourselves. So yes, at the beginning we can chant to just for feeling good or something like that, right? So as a meditation. But then we actually chant Shetodarpana Marjanam. This is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, is to cleanse the heart from all the unwanted things. And then we purify our heart, because the goal is to become pure. That's why we are called purify, is to become pure. So we are cleaning. It's like a cleaning process. Chanting is we are cleaning. Like when you go to a big house you just came into, I don't know, and it's like so dirty. So you have to clean, right? So that you can sit and like be peaceful. So in the same way, the heart is like that. Our heart is like full of dirt from past lives, and then we are actually cleaning our heart by this Maha Mantra. And in that way, Krishna can come and sit in our heart. It's like, if you have a dirty house, you cannot, if you invite some guests, they will not want to stay in your house. They will say like, I don't want to stay here, like, I'm going to go somewhere else. So in the same way, if you want to invite God in our heart, then we have to have a clean place for Him. So in that way, we are cleaning the heart. We're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We are chanting, and then we are serving. We are trying to serve in every day, so we are dedicating activities. So we are again cleaning our hearts. But the main, what Prabhupada gave us and Krishna gave us, the main way to clean our hearts is to chant this Maha Mantra. This is the most powerful way. So here, for example, we are chanting 16 rounds, but you can chant as much as you can. You can chant 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds. You can just start. For example, sometimes you have this japa challenge, where you challenge yourself to chant 1 round every day, and then you start to increase, and then you see the difference. And actually, people, the feedback of people, they change their life. Really, they have amazing realization, and they feel more connected what they do in their life, and they feel like, even like when difficult things happen in the day, they feel that they can overcome them more, because they are plugging themselves to God. So in that way, we are chanting to clean our heart and to connect, to please Krishna. Ultimately, this is also why we are chanting, is to please Krishna. Because Krishna is here, but he's actually a person. We want to see him as a real person. That's why you see here, he has got these dresses, these garlands, but we are treating him as a person. So we are feeding him, we are giving him water, we are putting him also in pyjama. So all of this is actually the process of Krishna consciousness, is to also have a personal relationship with God, which is, that's the main difference with, other religions, is actually to see Krishna as a person. Who is God? What does he do, actually? Like in many religions, we don't know, we don't have any information of God, and also we don't have any information of what's going on in heaven or hell, or what about the people who are doing good and bad in the same time? Where do they go? There is no middle place for them. So all of this, actually, how can we go into a place that we don't know? It's like, imagine you want to get married, and then they told you, okay, you have to marry with someone that you don't know his name, you don't know where he lives, but you have to love him. How can you do that? It's impossible. So we need to know the person, the supreme personality. That's why it's called as the personality of God. We have to know him. Who is he? What does he do? What's happening there? Where we are going after death? So in that way, this is how we can develop love for God. And otherwise, we can just try in our day to think about God in general. Like, even if you are not Krishna conscious, you can just try to add some God consciousness in life. Like, being grateful for the water, for example, that we drink. Where is it coming from? The food that I receive every day. Being grateful for, the house that I have, for ultimately, sometimes we eat quickly or we go to the supermarket and we don't even connect where is it coming from. Like, it's coming from the earth, but how is this earth giving vegetables and fruits? It's actually, everything works by the grace of Krishna, by the grace of God. The water also, how did it just came in my cup? Like that. Everything like that. It's just actually Krishna's, God's creation. And then we are, as humans, we transform things, because intelligence is also God. It's also coming from God. And then God is giving us intelligence so that we can able to transform these things. And why now we see that the world is going so bad is because people, they don't recognize the presence of God anymore. And so now that's why we have wars, fights, people are dying everywhere, and it's increasing. We can see that how the world is going so bad, and actually people are more depressed, even though we are saying that, the world is better and we have so much technology, but we can see actually the reality is that people are more and more unhappy. Why is that? Why is before people were more happy? Because before God consciousness was more present. Before, for example, people were going to the churches. Now the churches are all closing down. You go to the church and no one is there. Like there's nothing. People just believe in money, worshipping money, and then then the Mother Earth is responding because it's person, because everything is personal actually. And so she's giving wars and she's going these scarcities. This is the real cause of the wars. It's not because, this Ukrainian, they didn't want me to give me this part of the earth. No, it's because this is the consequence of people's disconnection from God consciousness, and this creates all of these things in the world. Yes. So I'm going to finish here. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Is there any question or anything you like to share? You can be anything. Have you ever tried to chant japa meditation? Have you ever tried to do it? Yeah. Do you do it regularly? Every day, sometimes. Every day. Nice. What about you? Have you ever tried meditation or japa meditation? Every day. Nice. What about you? Never tried before. Maybe it's an opportunity to try. Okay. So thank you. Now it's going to be the feast time. So it will be amazing food which was offered to Krishna, and we can all have lunch time. Thank you so much. That was the word of the end. Le mot de la fin.
Rassoa Mapsukotea. Je suis le bout dans l'eau, mais je vais hésiter peut-être.
Oui, c'est ça.